Mindset is a word that's thrown around a lot these days and probably misused and misunderstood by a lot of people. But the fact remains that more and more people are realizing that your mindset is a very important factor when it comes to predicting your life's trajectory and achieving success in the future. Hey team, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name's Jack. I'm a business analyst and a YouTuber living in Ireland. Today we're talking about mindset, and I'm going to give you 5 tips that you can use to improve yours. We all have our own aspirations and our own goals in life, and it's important that we continue to learn and adapt so we can make the best choices going forward so that we can achieve those goals. And that is the reason why having the correct mindset is so helpful, and it can often be the deciding factor in whether or not you achieve those goals. So with that in mind, here's tip number 1. Learn to accept that failure isn't the end of the world. So a lot of people are scared to get started with whatever they're doing because they are worried that they might fail in the end and they won't achieve the things that they set out to achieve. And this is perfectly normal. Everyone gets scared to start doing these things, but the important thing is to not let the fear of failure stop you from actually starting whatever you want to do, because if you never start, then you're never going to accomplish what you set out, or you're never going to accomplish your goals that you want to achieve. Tim Ferriss talks about a really interesting idea in his blog and in his book, The 4-Hour Workweek. It's a practice called fear setting, where you actively think about the worst case scenario for any given idea or like task that you're going to carry out. So say you want to start a business by yourself and you were like fearful that it was going to fail in some way or another. So the idea of fear setting is that you think about the absolute worst case scenario that could happen if you were to do it. So the idea of fear setting is that you think in very, very fine detail about the exact worst scenario that could come about if you were to actually follow through in your idea and try something risky or new. And the 2 main things you have to think about once you've thought about the scenario in detail is, 1, how likely is that scenario to actually happen on a scale of 1 to 10? So 10 being it's definitely going to happen and 1 being it's definitely not going to happen. Find yourself, where does your worst case scenario rank on how likely it's going to happen? The second thing is you rank it on again from 1 to 10 on how permanent or long lasting though the negative effects are going to be should that occur. So for example, say you use the idea of starting a business, say you're to quit your job, start the business, and the worst case scenario would be the business fails immediately, or it fails, you lose all your money, you have to sell your apartment, move out your apartment or flat or house or whatever, move back in with your parents and be penniless for a little while. You maybe have to get like a part-time job to like get by, just pay the rent, maybe start from the like relatively low down on another career path until you found another job to replace the one you had started before you quit. On a scale of like 1 to 10, chances are that's going to be a very unlikely scenario. Yes, the business may fail, but the chances of all those things actually happening, not very likely. And then the long-term impacts, like you can probably recover, get back to where you were before you stopped relatively quickly within a year or 2. Okay, so it's really not that long lasting or that permanent damage. And the act of actually thinking about these things and just putting them in your head so you know exactly what the repercussions might be, it sort of emotionally stabilizes you and allows you to get over that fear. So I know that was a bit of a lengthy one, but I hope that it helped. Tip number 2 is learn to accept criticism. The most successful people and people who inevitably learn the most are those that can accept criticism and positive feedback, especially, so that they can continuously improve themselves and always decrease their areas of weakness and increase their areas of strength. And we're never going to be able to do that if we are constantly questioning why people are criticizing us. You always want to be able to learn from whatever criticism we receive from almost any source and work with that in a way that betters ourselves. Tip number 3, don't criticize others. Chances are that you're not perfect. I know I'm certainly not. And if you are dishing out criticism to other people, then it's just not going to be received very well. Think about the last time you ever received a bit of criticism. It probably didn't go down that well, especially if you weren't if you weren't approaching it with a sort of learning from all your mistakes kind of mode. So when you dish out criticism to other people, people are probably going to be put on the defensive a bit and not very likely to listen. So it's probably a good idea to avoid criticizing other people's and just focus on not criticizing yourself, but learning yourself and improving yourself. It's a much more valuable way to spend your time anyway than focus on how to improve other people. You know, you're going to get a much higher return on investment. One of my favorite quotes on this subject is actually from a guy called Roy T. Bennett, who says, "Let the improvement of yourself keep you so busy that you have no time to criticize others." And I just think that's a brilliant way to think about criticism and improving yourself. Tip number 4 is get used to doing things when you say you're going to do them. When you begin to habitually start doing things exactly at the time when you say you're going to do them, so say you have it on your calendar that you're going to tidy up your room at 5 p.m. at night or whatever, as soon as you finish work or school or whatever, you should really try your best to get in the habit of doing it exactly when you say you're going to do it. It's good to get into that habit of doing things exactly when you say you're going to do them, because it allows you to really plan and structure your day in a way that's very disciplined and allows you a lot more clarity. A good way to do this is just using like your calendar app. So I use Google Calendar, for instance, and I use it to plan almost all my activities, and I'm trying to get better and better at planning all my activities through Google Calendar so that I know exactly when I have to do anything, and it just gives you a lot more clarity throughout your day, and it makes planning and getting all your tasks done a lot easier. So that would be like a really good tip for managing your time there. On that note as well, I just want to mention that another good reason for sticking to what you do when you say you're going to do it is for your general integrity, which I have actually made a video about before, so please check that out. I'll leave a link to it somewhere around here. Please go check that out. Tip number 5 is to switch from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Someone with a growth mindset would perceive hard work and commitment to continuous improvement as being more important than talent. So that by continuously improving yourself and working hard at the skills you know you want to have so that you can fulfill your goals is more important than just focusing on what you have talents in. Not that talents aren't important, of course they are, but the fact that hard work and working on your weaknesses as well as your strengths will go some way towards achieving your goals. It also ties back in with a few of the other tips we've talked about, such as understanding that failure is inevitable to some extent, and that learning from failure and learning from your mistakes is only going to contribute towards your learning and towards your inevitable success if you stick with it. A book on this subject that comes highly recommended is Mindset by Carol Dweck. She's a renowned professor on the subject, and I would highly recommend reading this book. It's not one that I've read, but I'm going to be reading it very soon. I hope you found those 5 tips useful. I know I've been using some of them in my own life. Be sure to take some, maybe just 1 or 2. You don't need to use all of them. Just pick the ones that work for you, take them and employ them in your own life. Let me know what tips you particularly liked in the comments. Drop a like if you did like the video. It lets me know what kind of content you guys want to see. Also, I'll be sure to leave links to my other videos, such as the one about integrity, as well as how to get into better habits, so on and so forth, somewhere here. Make sure to subscribe down below, hit the subscribe button to not miss any of my future videos as well. Thanks team, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.